folks. So today I'm going to show you how to make your own gift bags. These are the gift bags that my customers get when they purchase anything from my Etsy store. So they receive really good feedback. People really like the soft linen and the presentation of it. So it makes a really good gift bag no matter what you're doing with it. It also means that people can travel with it or be used for many things, and they just look beautiful. This particular one is drawstring, as you can see. I've made it with a French hem. So if you don't know what a French hem is, it looks like this on the inside. So you sew the bag inside out initially, and then turn it back inside, and then sew the hem, so that the hem is actually hidden inside. I think it looks really nice. I think it looks nicer than an overlocker. And initially I was just sewing it so the hem was raw inside, but I felt like my customers deserved the very best, and I think French hem looks the very nicest. It does take a little bit longer, of course. There's a whole extra layer of sewing to do, and it does take an extra centimetre of fabric that you need to build in. But you don't need to do a French hem, and I'll show you both ways. So I'll tell you exactly what you need to make your own gift bag. First of all, you're going to need any kind of fabric. It really doesn't need to be linen. Linen is nice and soft and it washes well, but any type of cotton would be amazing. Depends what you're using the bag for, and it really depends on the structure that you want. So in terms of figuring out what size you need for your bag, what I would do is think about where you want it to go. So for example, these are my gift boxes, and I want it to fit perfectly into the box. And as you can see, these ones, once they've got something in there and they fill out, they fit perfectly. So measure the size that you want, and then you want to add at least a centimetre for a hem onto every side of that. If you're doing a French hem, you want to add an extra centimetre. So what I've got here is the exact size that I want, plus an extra 2 centimetres to allow for the French hem. So I've got 2 pieces that are already cut. And what you're going to need as well, fabric scissors. You're going to need at least 7 pins, at least. You're going to need a bobby pin for threading through the ribbon, and obviously you're going to need the ribbon itself. But that's everything. You can also do this by hand if you wanted. Before I had a sewing machine, I actually started my business, masks, scrunchies and gift bags, all sewn by hand. So it's definitely possible for you to do this. I wouldn't suggest doing the French hem because it is going to take you a long time by hand, but just doing the raw hem on the inside by hand is very doable, and it will still look amazing. You just need to have a little bit of patience and a little bit of precision. So just follow these exact instructions, but just by hand. So now you have all your materials ready, and you've got your 2 pieces of linen already cut in the perfect size. We've got all the things that we need: scissors, pins, safety pin, ribbon, and we're going to get started. So if you're using patterned fabric here and you're only doing a normal hem and not a French hem, what you want to do is make sure the patterns are facing each other on the inside. If you're doing a French hem, you want to make sure that they're facing outwards. If you're using plain fabric like me, it doesn't matter unless the front and back are obvious. So as you can see, the first thing I'm doing is just pinning the fabrics together, just anchoring in the corners. So like I said, only 7 pins needed for this one. Then I'm going to take it over to my machine and I'm going to sew all the way around, leaving the top open because that's where our drawstring is going to be. If you are hand sewing, again, sewing in the same exact places just by hand, so this is going to take you a little bit longer. So now we're removing the pins, and I'm just going to chop the corners off using the fabric scissors. This helps to make the corners pointy, and it's really going to help us, especially with the French hem. And you'll see when I turn it inside out now, I'm just going to use the soft end of a chopstick to push the corners all the way through, just to make sure that we can get those really sharp corners. So if you're not doing the French hem, now's the time to just skip ahead to when we start sewing the top with the drawstring. If you're doing the French hem, what we're going to do now is exactly the same process, just on the other side. So what I'm doing here is I'm using friction to push the 2 sides of the bag together to get as much fabric out of the way as possible, and I am pinning it in place because otherwise when you're sewing it, it can loosen up a bit and you will lose a lot of fabric there, and your hems could be quite bulky. So it will take more than 7 pins if you want to be this precise. The other way that you can do this is you can push it together with your hands and then iron it flat, and it's probably a little bit easier. When we go back to the machine this time to sew the hem, we're just going to make it a little bit larger than the previous hem. So for example, what I usually do is sew a little bit less than a centimeter on the first hem, so that when we turn it inside out, when we go back to the machine, I can sew a little bit over a centimeter. And this will mean that the inside hem is definitely being covered by the outside hem, and it will look really good. So now that our French hem is done, we're going to turn our gift bag right side out. Again, pushing out those corners as much as we can. Now's a good time to trim off any excess thread that you see coming through from the inner hem. You may or may not have this problem depending on what material you use. Linen does get a little frayy, so I will just have to snap those off quickly just to make sure it looks really nice. Now for the top hem, so I'm just folding this over 2 times, but I don't want to do that all at once. I just want to fold it over 1 time and pin it in place, and then fold it over a second time and then pin that in place. In terms of how big your hem is, that's entirely up to you. Depends on the width of the ribbon that you want to use, but it can be as big or as small as you like, but you do want to fold it over 2 times in the exact width of your ribbon. My ribbon's only about 1 centimeter wide, so I'll be folding over the first hem only about a centimeter, and then the second hem a little bit over a centimeter, just so I know that it can take the whole width of the ribbon. I'll skip ahead a little bit here. Now we're ready to sew our hem around the top, whether that's at the machine or by hand. Just taking a moment here to trim some of that excess thread. And there we are, we're almost finished. As you can see, all of the hems inside are neat and tidy and tucked away. I'm very happy with how this turned out. Now I'm going to make the holes for us to insert our ribbon. My sewing machine doesn't do buttonholes, but if you wanted to, you could do this with a buttonhole maker. It would make it look nicer. So for now I'm just cutting these little slits, and it looks fine and they're fairly covered up once the ribbons are in. Be very careful here not to cut the other side of the bag. We're just cutting 1 slit in the outer layer so we can insert the safety pin that's attached to the ribbon. I'm doing this on both sides, about 1.5 centimeters from each hem. Now there are lots of ways to thread a ribbon. This is my preferred way, which is to fold the ribbon in half and thread the safety pin through both sides of the ribbon. This helps it to stop getting gathered at the bottom of the safety pin. But there are other ways, and you'll find the way that's right for you. Insert your safety pin with ribbon attached and scrunch the fabric and pull the safety pin on the inside to move it along. When you get to this first hole, you don't want to keep going, you want to pull it out so it's exposed and then push it through the next hole. That will help gathering the drawstring once it's all finished. Pull the ribbon out the other side. And now it's time to tie those 2 lengths into a knot and start on the other side. So for the second ribbon, you're going to insert it in the other side. There is already a ribbon there, but we're just going to pretend it's not there and do exactly the same thing on the opposite side. So threading it through, using the safety pin, exposing it when it comes to this side. and just continuing to thread it through. We're tying this side off with a knot also. And there we go. Time to test out your drawstring. I'm really happy with how this looks. I love all of the clean lines inside. I think it makes a really pretty gift. And there you have it, your own gift bag. I hope it turned out exactly how you wanted it to. If you have any questions at all, please leave them below. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video about how to make your own gift bag, and I will be back soon with some other DIY tutorials.